We're talking to Steve Heiner of Nikon, who should be on the screen. Hi, Steve. Oh, I can't hear you.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear you now. How are you?
Sorry I couldn't be there in person, Barney.
Well, thank you for joining us over Skype. So, Steve, just really quickly, what's your job? What's your responsibility at Nikon?
I am the Senior Technical Manager at Nikon. I'm also the media spokesperson.
That's lucky.
Yeah, lucky me.
So can you summarize just really quickly for our viewers and our readers, can you summarize Nikon's DSLR strategy right now?
Well, for those who are unfamiliar, of course, I would invite them to check out our full line. But of course, one of our overriding strategies, like you would hear from most manufacturers, is all about image quality. Obviously, we have a very long lineage in the industry of building cameras and especially lenses that sort of maintain that high image quality integrity through our entire line of cameras. That's, I think, one of the things that is at the heart of our designs is that it's not only that we design the sensors, but of course, just as importantly, we design all of the X-speed image processing for a consistency and fidelity in color and image quality that I think touches every single product we make. But especially in the DSLR range, because we have so many lenses, we're very interested in that sort of system integrity that allows people with entry-level cameras all the way up to professional-level cameras to exchange the same type of lenses. So there's a synergy there with all of our products, I think, that ties the whole line together, definitely.
So let's talk about lenses for a second. You touched on the interchangeability of lenses across the different systems. I mean, that only applies from full frame down. You can't really use your DX APS-C format lenses on full frame without losing resolution.
Well, of course you lose the resolution, but the versatility of a full frame camera that does have a crop option built in for the use of DX lenses, or as an alternative to shooting a full-frame photograph. If somebody wants to do that cropping in the camera, they have that ability. They're never locked out from doing that.
Is Nikon more focused on full-frame right now? It seems to be a lot more movement in terms of new cameras, but especially lenses. Is Nikon more focused on full-frame than APS-C at the moment?
Well, the same thing might have been said a few years ago before full-frame cameras, of course, were introduced into the market. Of course, the DX format is where we started. Actually, we started well before that, but that was our first major commercial effort in digital photography, of course, was with the DX format, and that has progressed to a much larger sensor, which, of course, gives us all the benefits that everyone's familiar with. But because we have only recently introduced a number of cameras in the full-frame realm, it may feel like that's where our efforts are. But, of course, we're still giving just as much attention to the DX line as we are the FX line.
So where does mirrorless fit into this overall interchangeable lens strategy for you right now?
Well, of course, since we introduced the Nikon One system, we've gone through a number of different iterations of those different types of cameras, from entry-level cameras for the Nikon One system to, of course, our latest higher-end camera, which is the V3. All those lenses, of course, are totally interchangeable, and with the introduction recently of the brand new 70-300, which is a really exciting option for those shooting telephoto photography, especially on a V3, it's a major part of our line. There's no question about it. There are things that can be done in that type of camera that are quite amazing. A full 20 frames per second at full resolution with autofocus and auto exposure, the ability to shoot movies through a viewfinder type system. There are certain inherent advantages to having this type of a system, of course, and we are always trying to maximize that for our customers.
So do you see potential? You've spoken about the possibilities of cameras that, let's be honest, don't have a mirror in the way. I mean, do you think there's potential for larger sensor mirrorless for customers, for your customers?
Well, obviously, with the choices that we have in the Nikon One system right now, the choices that we have in the DSLR system, I can't really speculate about what's going to happen, but of course, those advantages don't escape us. Our engineers understand what can be done in that realm, but currently, right now, because of the sort of legacy of many of our lenses, and as you know, many of our lenses still require mechanical linkages, it's maybe not the easiest thing for us to do, but we are always looking at what options are available, what new technologies are available, and what our customers are demanding also. So we'll constantly be monitoring that just to make sure that at the first possibility that we can perhaps try something new.
So just quickly, your big product at Photokina this year, which was last month in Germany, was the D750, which is a new full-frame DSLR. Do you want to just very quickly talk us through the main features of this product?
Yeah, the D750 is a tremendous camera. This is one that I think is it's kind of at the crossroads between our DX and our FX systems in DSLR. And I say that primarily because it borrows from the high end of the range as well as from the low end of the range. It's a great camera for anybody who's interested in high resolution, high quality still photography. But of course, with all of the interest in shooting video, HD video with DSLRs, it has an incredible video capture feature set also. This is a camera with 24.3 megapixels, shoots 6.5 frames per second. You have the ability to add on a battery pack to lengthen the battery life. It has a 3.2-inch tilting screen on it, which is the first time we've incorporated a tilting screen in an FX format camera, which especially for video shooters is very exciting, but of course still shooters use that as well. It's a camera that is an FX format, so of course it will accept not only our FX format, but also DX in case somebody is moving up from a DX format to FX in the 750. So very, very exciting camera.
So in some respects, actually, the camera's big brother really is the D810, the 36 megapixel flagship full frame for non-professionals. I mean, the D750 actually has a slightly improved AF system than the D810, is that right?
It does. In fact, it's the very first camera from Nikon that has an AF detection down to EV-3. So while the sensor is perfectly suited to shoot extremely low light photographs, so is the AF system, which is something that is very impressive when you're shooting in extremely low light to be able to focus down to EV-3. So that is a new feature for us, definitely.
Why bother upgrading to the 810 then in that situation? What do you get?
Well, as you probably noticed, throughout our entire line, we tend to not pull out features in order to place cameras at a particular hierarchy in our lineup. Many of the core specifications are where those differences lie, and the D810 does have higher core specifications since it's what we consider a professional camera. And as capable as the D750 is, it's not something that we would consider a professional camera, even though we know many professionals will use it. So, for instance, the D750 tops out at a 4,000th of a second, D810 at an 8,000th of a second. So there are some fundamental differences. But when it comes to features, for instance, and this is what I was speaking to when I talked about borrowing from other more entry-level DX format cameras, is that here in the D750, we see a crossroads where we're actually including things like scene modes as well as special effects to make it easier for people who maybe don't have as much experience, but yet all of those manual and automatic features that a professional or a more advanced shooter would use are also available in the D750.
So when I described the 810 as the flagship of the non-professional line, that obviously that was wrong. I was thinking more in terms of its situation underneath the D4S.
Sure.
In terms of durability, what's the difference between a product like the 810 and the 750?
Well, the D810 and the 750 are sealed in a similar fashion from dust and moisture getting in, of course, but the body construction is different insofar as with the D750, we have gone with a new type of structural skin design or a monocoque design, like many people who are interested in Formula One racing will appreciate, is an amalgam both of carbon fiber and of magnesium alloy. So it's a different type of body construction that is designed to be incredibly rigid and incredibly durable, but at the same time lightweight. And so I would simply say that the D810 and the 750 have the same sort of sealing type of systems, while the D810, of course, is still considered a professional camera, may have a slight edge on the D750, but there are very few places I wouldn't take both cameras. I think that they would both handle even the roughest assignments, for sure.
So let's talk briefly about lenses. We touched on lenses. I mean, where do you think Nikon's energy is when it comes to creating new DSLR lenses right now? Are you focused on full frame, on DX, telephoto, or what? Where are the gaps?
Well, for a while there, the gaps, of course, were in our FX format prime lenses. But now, with the recent introduction of the 20 millimeter 1.8, we have a total of 5 1.8 prime lenses for the FX format, which are extremely affordable. These are extremely high quality lenses, but very affordable for people who are, as I've mentioned before, transitioning into the FX format, and even those who can just simply appreciate these lenses for what they are. So we have actually been preparing those lenses for the introduction of FX format cameras like the D610 and, of course, the D750, D810 and above. But obviously, we're not ignoring the DX line. We're going to continue to work there. You will see some very exciting lenses in our entire range coming in the time ahead.
I look forward to that. I mean, would you describe DX now as an entry-level DSLR format for you?
I think it is naturally, simply because that's kind of where it all started. And I think that because we have spent many years working the DX format, that by economies of scale, that is the least expensive end of our line. That seems like a natural jumping off point for somebody who's getting interested in DSLR photography. So I wouldn't be ashamed to say that our DX line is an entry-level line, but that's not to discount the importance of cameras like the D7100, which are very full-featured, have very high specifications, and can operate at an extremely high level for a very advanced shooter as well. So I think the DX line in and of itself offers cameras across the board that can appeal to almost every kind of shooter.
But how do you persuade people to go up to full frame from DX or from 1-inch?
I think by making it easier for them to do that. I think up until recently, it's been fairly cost prohibitive to get into a high quality full frame camera. I don't think that's the case anymore. If you look at the high end of the DX line and you look at cameras like the D750, they become much more affordable, and especially because of some of the lenses that we've introduced recently, make it a very attractive jump from DX to FX. And of course, I know many people who use DX and FX interchangeably as well. As I mentioned before, there are some hits you take in resolution by going down to DX versus FX on the same camera, but the versatility of doing that, especially for video shooters where your resolution isn't necessarily compromised, the ability to crop the sensor and still produce a 1080 output is very exciting. And for still photographers, the availability of being able to do that, I think, is a feature that many people really appreciate. But of course, our image quality, our image processing, our vast array of Nikkor lenses, the X-speed processing, and of course, quite frankly, a lot of the fun things that we include in our cameras, I think, make it very appealing for somebody who is looking for more than they can get perhaps with their camera phone or their compact camera.
Do you see prices coming down further in full frame? It is still a significant jump in price.
Absolutely. I don't see that the more cameras we introduce and the broadening of the spectrum of FX and DX format cameras, that those will ultimately affect price. Now, obviously, when we introduce a camera at the very high end of the scale, like a D4S, there is a price to be paid usually for that level of durability and feature set. But of course, the introduction of the D750 is a perfect case in point. The price of this body, especially for all that it offers, is so much more attractive than, for instance, somebody who's using their camera primarily for video, since this has a almost identical video set to the D810. Right there is a savings for someone who's interested in video. So I think the prices will adjust themselves, and of course, the more interest there is in FX, the more cameras we can sell, that will obviously affect it as well. So go out and buy an FX format camera.
Thanks, Steve. That's a good note to end on. Thank you.
Thank you.